Good morning. I would like to welcome everyone to the Pasco County Board of County Commission Joint City Workshop for November 2nd, 2021. At this time, please silence all electronic devices. And please rise at this time for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide, to satisfy the needs of every listener. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, be faithful stewards. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Markey. District 4, Commissioner Patrick. District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 1, Chairman.
Here. Appreciate everyone coming out today. We have a lot of items that we need to be speaking on today. Give her a name card. Show that Ms. Starkey has made it to our meeting.
Oh, who's there?
Somebody else.
Oh. Well,
So-
someone's in my seat then.
So we have our first topic of discussion
Who's that?
will be river water issues. Cody River Landing, Cody River Trail Underpass Project, boating access, dredging, stormwater, and all. So I do not have a list of who is to speak to these items, so Ms. Starkey, is that an area that you've asked for to speak on?
Well, I think we all want to discuss what's happening with the trail. Let me see where we are.
Well, the-
Cody River Landing. So,
Yeah.
well, I don't have it. I guess could we get an update with Port Richey and? Oh, we have one.
I'm here.
Hey, is anyone else coming from?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Can we get an update about the overall plan in general?
Sure. The conceptual plans will be delivered to council next Tuesday at the regular council meeting. Our engineering firm has completed those. They did present last week at council conceptual plans with some engineering drawings of trails and where sidewalks would go and so on. Obviously, we're excited about that. We're ready to put shovels in the ground. But those plans are coming to fruition as we had expected a couple of months ago when we engaged the engineering firm to put those together. Elsewhere in the Coatee River Landing area, the CRA has purchased 2 properties that have relatively dilapidated rental homes on them. As soon as the rental leases are up on those properties, we'll demo those properties and put that property back to its original zoning use, which was C2, not residential. So moving forward on that, we expect one of them is empty now, and the other one will be empty, I believe, May. So
Are those on the water?
no, they are not on the water.
Where are they
They're
located?
at Coatee and Old Post Road. 2 small 2-bedroom houses, both of them owned, 2 different lots, but they're both owned by the same owner. When they came up for sale, the CRA board decided they would like to purchase that and see if we can put that back into much more productive use. So that's a number of properties have been upgraded and improved, but those are private entities taking care of that. The old restaurant motel has sold recently, and owners of that are making good progress to bring that up to code to start with. I haven't heard their plans beyond that.
Let me interrupt just a second. John, would you
No maps?
introduce yourself and your position at Port Richey?
Yes, sir. My name's John Dude. I am the city manager in Port Richey. Been there since middle of January.
Okay, thank you. At this time, Mr. Mayor, would you introduce yourself and then let your council members also introduce themselves?
Certainly. Rob Marlowe, Mayor of the City of Newport Richey. Peter Altman, City Council.
Chopper Davis, Deputy Mayor.
Matt Murphy, City Council.
Mike Peters, City Council.
Debbie Mann, City Manager.
All right. Thank you. I'm sorry we got past that on the roll call. They called our regular roll. As normal, we just move on, so, from that. But we're not used to having this joint meeting like this. It's a little different than our normal schedule. But, yes, now we can go ahead. Ms. Starkey?
By any chance, do you have a map or anything to share with us? What's going on?
I'm sorry I didn't bring it with me. We have them available, and I can sure get it to your staff and make those available.
You got a map here?
I'm curious, what businesses in that area are expanding? Did I hear a rumor or something with Catches buying the property next door?
My understanding is Catches, the owners of Catches own both pieces of property. There's an empty lot to the northwest of their restaurant facility. So yes, there's and they've been in to talk about their plans. Haven't pulled permits yet, but I would anticipate the owners pushing that forward as rapidly as possible. At the other end of the main thoroughfare, the old restaurant and motel have been purchased recently.
Which restaurant and motel? Got the Seaside Inn? Seaside Inn?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, forgive
Anyone
me.
else over there know?
Is there a
Anything?
I know a restaurant there, but I don't know.
I didn't know it was a hotel, even though it says inn.
Motel.
Or Seaside?
It's empty buildings, right? Empty
Yeah.
rooms right now. So, and they have not come in to, give me an idea of what their plan is, but we are working with them to bring it up to code, get it secured.
You said, just one question, since we got the map up there, I know where Old Post and Cody is, where are the lots on 19 or are they on?
No, they're on the northwest corner of Coatee and Old Post.
Oh, okay, right, yeah, they are, okay.
It's about a third of an acre with two homes that were, I think they were built in the early 50s.
If y'all don't mind, I'm gonna swap down here to boating access, and we'll come back to the underpass trail.
Okay.
Rumors swirling about things happening with your boating access in the bayou there, and we're all looking for more boater access on the Gulf. So can you share anything with us about what's happening there?
So I assume you're talking about Nix Park. Nix Park is
Yes.
An integral part to the development of the Coatee River Landing area. And it came up, I believe, in budget discussion, and it wasn't an agenda item. It wasn't, on the agenda to discuss, but that conversation went that way, and there was some interest in looking at what does that area look like if it does not have a boat ramp in it? What if it's returned to the original intent of the Nick family that donated the land to the city? And so I directed our engineers to conceptualize that space with a boat ramp and without a boat ramp. Obviously, to not have a boat ramp there, that's not my call. But if the council decided they wanted to go that way, then it's my job to be prepared with pictures and what does that look like.
And would you be replacing that with something else, or just there would be no boater access in Port Richey?
I wouldn't want to speculate what that's going to look like. We're a long way from deciding what it looks like.
Is that the only access they have in Port Richey?
Yeah, I think so.
Mr. Chairman, let me jump in on that a little bit too. If you look at, we're expanding Anclote, the boat ramps at Anclote River because of the amount of people that come to those boat ramps. Obviously, Nix Park takes a lot of that off. Anclote, Hudson as well. Newport Richey has a boat ramp. And then Councilman Davis sits on the Tourism Development Council with me as well. We push your area quite a bit for people to come to that area. If you remove that boat ramp, you're really taking out an integral part of really tourism for Pasco County. People use that boat ramp when it comes to scalloping. They're using it obviously for fishing. But you have a number of visitors that come to Pasco County that utilize that area to go out of that river. Just taking away that access, I think, would be detrimental to, not only your city, but county and the county tourism as a whole. I would not suggest that. It would be very difficult for us as a DMO to continue to put any, this is my opinion only, put dollars and cents towards promoting anything in that area if they're not going to have the boat access that allows people to get out there. That would drive people from Newport Richey, from Hudson to Anclote to have to come up and down the Gulf to get into that river. I mean, I don't think it would be a good idea at all. I think it would be very, very bad idea to take that boat ramp out.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
John, do they have when the land was given to the city, was it supposed to be a boat ramp, or what was the original documents? What do they show?
I'd have to go find the documents, so I'm relying on, other people's interpretation of what they think the documents say, but I'd have to go back and check them to see what it is. But I think the thought amongst the council, and again, this wasn't a decision, this was a 45-second conversation of what if. But my understanding is that the land was originally donated and no boat ramp, that came in later. But again, I'm new here, I'll find out the history. But I think it was, point of interest for the council to say, what would it look like for the people of Port Richey if their park was a park and not a boat ramp? That's their call, and I know they're not all five on the same page, as all of you on councils and commissions know. That's not
Say
how
it ain't
works,
so.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Can we pan down to get the river kind of in the middle? Because, our city has talked about, and I believe with the county as well, the potential. There was a hotel, used to be, what was the name of it? That you can see right down in the bottom there.
It's the River Villas now or something
It's
like
now
that.
River Villas, yeah. And there's a vacant lot above it. There's also land, if you keep panning to the north, with the picture, you can see
The other side of
vacant
the
land.
river.
We're looking at
You're right
Newport
there.
Richey, please.
There
Yeah,
you go.
down, yeah, there you go.
Next to the bridge.
So just so we can, because we are together, we've had a lot of discussion and a lot of consulting reports that have talked about our boat ramp in our downtown and the lack of boat ramps and boat facilities. And frankly, a lot of people that live on the river see folks racing in when there's a rainstorm to get to that boat ramp because it's the only one they can go to. So our council, I think we have all discussed the desire for us to bring redevelopment to that south corner and to attempt to do something. I mean, we get generous funding from the TIF funds, from county dollars that we would love to probably partner and talk to you about. Could there be some retail, could there be some entertainment value to circling having the river on the south as well? That land is part Newport Richey, part county, part Port Richey. So it's a great opportunity for us all to work together.
Very good.
So, and John, you're new, so let me just say the reason that we're focusing on Cody River Landing at the number one topics for discussion is that area was really looked at by the Urban Land Institute when they came and studied the county, and that was the real jewel of the county. It's really one of the only places you can see the water close to 19. There's that one little piece by Gulf Harbors, but I think we all consider that just a very special place in the county, and we all want it to do well and really elevate the west side of the county. So we all have an interest in it, though I know it's your property.
On that, ma'am, you can rest assured we're all in agreement.
Yeah. So, Jack, why don't I let you take the discussion on the Cody River Trail Underpass project, and let's discuss what's going on with that.
I think John was alluding to, he's got a couple of parcels he's looking at. John, you got a couple of parcels on the underpass you're looking at right now. Have you been working with DOT as far as to take the next step? The MPO made it the top priority in the list.
Right.
So where does it stand with your discussion? They had to work with you, I think, a little bit. So any Any progress with DOT as far as conversations go?
No, not that I'm aware of.
How about the city of Newport Richey? Go ahead.
I'm not certain that the city of Newport Richey has been delegated any specific responsibilities as it relates to the implementation of any of the project elements at this point. I did suggest that this be noted as an agenda item, though, so that we could learn from you what the status of the project is.
And I know the city's been great supporting this project every step of the way without hesitation, so. And we know that's a great connector with both cities, so there's a great opportunity there. Mayor?
One of the discussion points that we've had over the last few years is whether or not to have golf cart access through that. And the more I've thought over it over the months, the more I think we need to stand united, Port Richey, Newport Richey, and Pasco County, and insist that the Florida Department of Transportation allow legal transit of golf carts at Grand Boulevard. They're doing it now anyway. Let's make it safe and legal. Because to spend boatloads of money expanding the underpass just for golf carts when there is a much less expensive way of doing it, I think just doesn't make economic sense. But we'd love to see Port Richey and Newport Richey tied together so that the golf carters can go from downtown Newport Richey up to the waterfront, from Port Richey to the downtown Newport Richey. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I think the commission agrees that we haven't backed away from that either, so I think the commission agrees 100% that way, and we're going to keep on pushing that way as well.
Just, I've had many discussions with DOT about their rulings that golf carts cannot cross federal highways and state highways. Apparently, there was a ruling by the, I think maybe the state's attorney's office or someone that the liability is too great to allow motorized vehicles to cross in the crosswalks. And I just think we need to revisit that in this day and age. And if pedestrians can cross, why can't a golf cart it seems to me a golf cart can get across quicker than a pedestrian. So I just think maybe we need to draft a letter, maybe from all of us. And I think there are other communities in the state as well that may want the state to relook at this ruling. And I don't think it's in statute. I think it's just an opinion from someone in the state that the liability is too great for the state Department of Transportation.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think what we need to do is in just direct MPO staff, look at Sun City Center. Is 674 a state road, for example, or is that a county road? I'm not sure because they allow, as you know, Sun City Center is turned into a golf cart community. People take their golf carts to Publix. They take them to the golf course. They take them to stores and shopping and get their hair done and things like that. So maybe look at 674 and see if that is a state road or a Hillsborough County road, because it is allowed in that area and they promote it. They actually have golf cart parking. Yeah, I'm not sure though, because you have 301 there too. And I know they cross 301. Now I don't know if they legally cross 301, but they cross 301 as well. But they're all down there.
Because this is an issue that also affects Marine Parkway. And when DOT builds a pedestrian overpass, it also does not allow motorized vehicles on a pedestrian overpass. So I think the only way to get around this is to go to Tallahassee and try and change minds up there.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, when we had our leadership meeting, we had the FDOT secretary there. We kind of took turns beating him up a little bit, saying you gotta do this. We gotta get this implemented and change the rules a little bit. And he did say yes. They're working on that. Had a little task force, but that's probably not working at the speed of light. So anything we can do to push them along would definitely help.
Okay.
I would go so far as to say, I don't believe a week goes by that I don't see a golf cart going across US 19, either at Marine Parkway or Main Street, Newport Richey, or Grand Boulevard. It's happening already. We need to face the facts as they are on the ground and have FDOT do the same.
Can I jump in one more time, Mr. Chairman? Yeah, maybe just thinking between Port Richey and Newport Richey, maybe get with your legislators and do a legislative ask to actually have that legislation done. Maybe put it in the bill form. That'd be the easiest thing to do.
I think it should be all of us.
Well, we can too, but I'm just,
We can ask also.
right. But I think it'd be good to start because it is within the city boundaries.
Right.
I think there's one other thing when you brought up Sun City. I think if the community is on both sides, in that case, it's a community. If Gulf Harbors was on both sides of 19, then that would be allowed. But when it's separated like that, or it's part of the city, not part of the city, then it's not allowed. And that's probably why it's there. You can do it in Sun City.
I think it's good if the three of us stick together, and maybe a letter coming from the mayors and the chairman to get something forward. It doesn't have to be real specific, just something out there that we want to see the change. And when I look at it, US 19, as dangerous as it is, it's going to be a big asset to us to put this underpass in place. And you're not crossing over on 19. You're going under it, so it's not even affecting US 19. So maybe we should just go build it and let them just give it back to us, from between the cities or county, whatever, and just make it a county road from there so it doesn't have to affect them anymore. Well, let's get it built.
Maybe if, Mr. Steinsetter, you think there's a legislative ask that we have to make to possibly get that done?
Well, historically, I know that Manatee County got a legislative ask to have Colony Cove cross US 301, and consistent with what Councilman Davis just said, I believe that legislation, when passed, I haven't looked at it in 15 years, but I think when it was passed, it said that if a development, a community was on both sides of a federal highway, they would give special dispensation for that crossing. So there's precedent for asking the legislature to do something like that, if they're willing to do it.
Mr. Laird, you have anything to add to that?
So just to kind of let you all know, so the legislature, the House requires a hard deadline on appropriations ask. That's coming up. November 17th is the hard deadline. For us, my cutoff is the 15th. That way staff can input it. The forms are online. I can get you the forms for the ask, but you have to reach out to the delegation members. So on the west side, you've got Senator Hooper and Representative Mariano that you can check with. But the House has a form and the Senate has a form. The House will actually put it in the posture of an actual bill. The Senate does not. And what they will do is once these requests come in, they will assign them bill numbers in the House. And then when they are heard in the subcommittees of the appropriations, they do them in a consent calendar. And then they take them all up just to get them in posture to go to conference. And then in conference, the House puts out their budget, the Senate puts out their budget. Your goal is to try to get on both sides, if you can, at least in one, because if you don't get in play in one, when they put those together, you won't have it, it won't be in play. So they're in their last, they're up in Tallahassee this week. They're in their last month of committee weeks. They're off in December. They start session in January, of course, and then run January and February and end first week of March. But if you're going to put a request in, you need to get on that right now because the legislators will be home next week. You can set up appointments to meet with them and put those requests in. But right. I would recommend the county is looking at putting in 3 requests this year with our delegation members. But I would say that would be the best route for you all to go. I know that some of our other municipalities are putting in requests in as well. Dade City, I think, has 3 this year. So,
Ralph?
Yes.
It's really not an appropriations we're looking for, just a legislative change.
A legislative change. All right, on the legislative change, that one's a lot easier. We got more time on that one. So if you know the specific statute or the issue, we can just get with staff, or you can just get with staff with either Senator Hooper's office or Representative Mariano's office. Type it out and just explain it, a one-pager of what you're seeking to make the change. They can look at it. It may not require a bill. It could be a rule change. Because the way the statute is written, sometimes they give the authority to the agency that oversees, like DOT, the ability to make rule change, so they don't always have to do statute change, which requires law change.
So possibly we could ask two different ways. We could ask for appropriations if we want to try to still do that underneath 19. I think we already asked for both. And it should Newport Richey or Port Richey, who actually is that part of,
And
they should be doing the ask.
Right. And I would recommend either municipality put that ask in. They don't require a match.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Realistically, go ahead.
Yes.
And we went down this road a couple of years ago, and it really messes with DOT. It's at the top of the MPO list. It's on their funding list. We don't want to mess with appropriations. Funding's not the problem. Let's just get the structure set.
I think the ask may be the easiest thing. Two of these, one of the intersections, Grand Boulevard at 19, is in Port Richey entirely. And the Main Street and Marine Parkway are both entirely within the city of Newport Richey. So we could certainly look at putting in a request for them to either give us special dispensation or change the law specifically to allow it.
I know, I was just going to say real quick, I know that David Gwynn at one time told me in Newport Richey, the road where the underpass would come out, he wants to make sure that road continues on to Main Street. It was just a small section, but he had a concern there, I know. So you may want to check with David and see what that issue is. But he was just concerned the road, the way it comes under the underpass under 19, that it kind of dead-ended in a neighborhood. It didn't go all the way to Main Street, and he would like to see that continuance.
Yeah, that's Port Richey, and it's Grand Boulevard you're trying to get to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Starkey?
Yes, so I think we have two things here. One is we have an amendment to a state statute that would allow us to be able to cross. And I don't know if it would be Pasco County. Here, let me let my attorney explain that part.
Well, so golf cart regulation on all roads is governed by 316, and I found the one that the councilman and I are both referring to. It's the operation of golf carts within a retirement community is what it's called. But there would be no reason why you couldn't ask the legislature for an additional amendment to 316 and could craft something that fit the situation that we've got. And have them adopted into general law. But that special fix for Colony Cove and Sun City and whatever is 316-2125, and so something similar to that could be done for this situation.
But however, concerning funding for the trail, I'm wondering if we could, take a swing at, we lost Ralph. Ralph might know this pot of money, but the governor put aside a pot of money for economic development. And I wonder if we might make an ask even for just the next, I think we have some design done, don't we, on that trail? Didn't, or is that just conceptual, or is that?
Conceptual.
So if it's possible, maybe we could ask for some funding to go to the next step from that governor's pot of money for economic
And that would
development.
be a grant fund. That would not be an appropriations request. So that could be, once they fund it in the legislature, because I know he's working on this past legislative session, dispersing the money out now around the state.
Yeah, so we should maybe try and see if, maybe we can ask Sean if that's, and Ralph, you guys can get together and see if that's something that might be eligible for an ask. Because there certainly are economic repercussions from, I think, having our own little boardwalk in the area. So we all want to see it.
I can have my assistant Colleen jump as that for another project for the coast.
Okay, you got that covered pretty well. How about dredging? You want to speak to dredging in that area?
So I'd love to get an update on where Port Richey is on dredging, and then maybe Jack he's our dredging person, give us a little update let you all know where we are.
So the dredging project in Port Richey has been presented to Treasury. It has been with Treasury for a number of months. We check with them every 2 weeks. And I know we've got an interlocutor here at the county. My grant person and your person are working together. But every 2 weeks, the Treasury tells us no news.
So we have a federal lobbyist, and Harry Glenn, and we will ask him, if we can get him the information, we'll ask him to follow up with that.
The latest update I got from my staff was we had submitted to Treasury, and Treasury wants us to resubmit it again. And one of the things that'll be included, getting the paperwork done a little bit better, but also they're going to be looking to John and the city of Port Richey to actually be able to show they have the capacity to actually take the next step forward. So that is being redrafted again as we speak. That's the latest update. As far as the other dredging from Gulf Harbors, Leisure Lane, Hudson Channel, that is going to, we've got a separate submission on Part 3 money, actually Part 1 money, Part 3 money that's being done, but it's going to take a little bit of time. We've done our studies. We're going to go through more studies. It's going to come before the board, I think, next month to take the next step on it. I've also put as my legislative ask this year to have Sea Pines Channel and Westport Channel to get those dredged as well. And we'll look at the channels inside it, which would be very light work as far as probably more with the stormwater outfall is, to get those done as well.
Did you talk enough about the study and where we are with it?
The study, I think, well, maybe Mike knows better exactly where we are with it. I thought we had some coming up next month, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, we're pushing through some tactical issues with getting things out, but design is to go forward in this fiscal year.
So that's pretty much it on.
Stormwater and flooding?
Move on stormwater and flooding issues.
So I guess we'll do the Green Key Estates first, then I want to talk to Port Richey about a contact that I had concerning some sewer issues.
Just for a second.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead. And I think it was in the paper too. So we understand there are some sewer issues going on, maybe with some overflow going into the bayou there.
So yeah, I was interviewed. I think a couple of our residents were as well. And they had video of water coming out of a manhole. DEP has been in to inspect the lift station. There was some concern amongst the residents in that area that maybe the lift station had been turned off or the alarm had been turned off. And so DEP came in, inspected the lift station, inspected the pump, the pipes, the walls, the control panel, and they were very specific about wanting to inspect the alarm. So my staff triggered the alarm went off, his phone rang, the light flashed, the alarm was working. So somewhere somebody got the idea that we'd turned the alarm off. It just wasn't true. We are in the process of, I believe here next week, we start with smoke testing on the east side of the city to determine where the leaks are in the sewer system. We'll pump smoke into the sewer mains, and wherever it comes out of the ground, we'll dig it up and fix the leak. So infiltration is always a challenge. The infrastructure is old. When it rains 6 inches in an hour and a half, not only our system, but all of our neighbors, including county, lift stations fill. We have alarms on those lift stations. The one in particular, Chapel, is set to alarm at 5 feet. Its capacity is 9 feet. So when it hits 5 feet and it's pouring rain, our guys go out with the vac truck and they start pumping it down to try to stay ahead of not only sewer but rainwater coming into the system. So been a lot of attention on the east side. The media has been involved, and they interviewed me, and I thought they gave a fair account of what's going on there. But it's low, it's on the river, it rains a lot, elevation is 8 inches. Yeah. And it's old infrastructure. None of that excuses the challenge. And there was some concern that, spills weren't being reported. DEP inspected our spill reporting, and anytime any of us have a spill, we have an obligation to fill out the paperwork when we're done cleaning it up. So they were satisfied with our reporting. Obviously, if we have a spill, we address it. There was one on the south side a couple of months ago that made Facebook. I don't think it made the regular media. Within 15 minutes of the alarm or the call coming in, my staff were on site. Within 20 minutes, we had the vac truck there, and we're battling the elements, both figuratively and literally. So it's something we take serious. There's been a lot of attention, particularly on the east side of the city and on the east side of the river. The Florida Rural Water Association is going to come in and help us with videoing and with smoke testing. As you all know, we've got some money coming that will help with replacing water, sewer. I don't have a lot of broadband need, but we've got some water and sewer issues. So as we find those problems with smoke testing, then we can start to fix them. And that, we fix enough leaks that may reduce the flow into the system. The bottom line is it's old infrastructure in a very low, very wet place, in a place that rains a lot. And
So last year, my legislative ask was to deal with something somewhat similar, and that's the aging system within the Lindrick system. And we were successful in getting $3.8 million to fix the Gulf Harbor's Lindrick system. We're going to be sleeving that this year in 3 phases. Am I saying that right, Mike? And do you guys sleeve any of your older pipes? Because that is a very cost-effective way of stopping the infiltration in a lot of the leaks.
I hate to admit it, but I'm not sure we've done anything for quite some time now. That changed last January. But prior to that, I don't know if we've sleeved or if we've just patched up leaks as we find them. But we've got, I'm familiar with what you're talking about. There's also a sleeving process for lift stations, and we're going to direct some of our federal money towards rehabbing lift stations. 'Cause if the lift station leaks, it's no different than if your sewer main leaks. So we're addressing that. But the money difference is significant. We were looking at 80 or 90,000 to rehab a lift station, and sleeving it is 30.
And are you going for any legislative ask this year that may help you find some more money to get that aging system? Because it seems to me that's a big focus of our governor and our leaders, is that cleaning up the water quality along the coast? That's my last question.
I'd love to have your assistance with that. I'm getting ready to spend ARPA money, or if my council approves it, we'll spend ARPA money on water and sewer, but I'll take all the help I can get.
Do y'all have plans of possibly doing some sleeving?
On lift stations, yes. Yeah, the ones that are appropriate for that, we'll have engineers tell us which ones are appropriate, which ones need to be completely rebuilt. But just the initial cost difference, I'm not an engineer, but it sure jumped out at me as we need to take a look at this. So.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, just to give a little more clarity on the dredging, I found my email I was looking for. Dredging, we've spent $640 final design permitting effort underway for Hudson and Gulf Harbors area, approximately 16 to 18 months to complete it. The legislative asked not only to include Sea Pines and Westport, we're also including Driftwood Isles up in the Hudson area too. Now, Green Key, we've got numerous maintenance activities. We've got flap gates, pipes, junction at Lago Terrace and Manor Drive, ditch work along Olsner, Vortex, and Werner. They were completed March 21. Pipe replaced on Olsner September 2021. Performed condition assessments in 2021 of major stormwater infrastructure. And as far as a capital project, we're looking at a $1.9 million improvement of new pipes and outfalls to mitigate flooding. Easements are needed. We submitted this grant request to CDBG, submitted on September 21. So we are trying to work with the city and fixing this whole area up together. And I know the city has been great cooperating before. We fixed areas up in Leisure Lane as well as down in that area. So I have good faith we're going to work together and keep that rolling through.
Any
rains and floods.
You know, when you're so close to sea level, it's going to happen. The key is to get the water out to the Gulf as quick as you can after that fact. When the storm surge is gone, the water can get back out, and that's a lot of what we're going to look at.
I think, did I hear that the elevation there was 8 inches? Was that what you said, John?
I was being facetious. It's not very much.
I'm used to 200 and 240 over on the east side, so it's hard to think of 8 inches of elevation, but very low. And we do have flood problems that we do need to try to help. All of us need to work together to try to get those taken care of, so.
Did the city want to talk more about the stormwater stuff, or want to talk about, I know it's down the road a little bit, but the Green Key Beach Improvement Project too, but.
Well, Jack, I know, you know, I've had some conversations because I think some of the people addressed in Port Richey City Council on some of their flooding issues. I had an opportunity to go out there after a rainstorm once, and I see what they're talking about. And I you know, directed back to our Public Works Director to make sure that you know, our property, if we got things cleared, or we got any problems that's might be contributing to that. And he's assured us that he's, you know, the part we're responsible for is clear and best our ability, and that we don't think there's any issues there. But I think, like you say, he's just getting the water out to the Gulf, because it does stand there for a time after a bad rainstorm, and I think it's what the people are, because part of the roads were dry, and then there was, you know, 8-10 inch worth of puddles too along people's properties and corners and so forth. So it is an issue, but you know, we're willing to take a look at anything we can do to help.
And I'll say it's a big area, and I think this new grant submission is superior to the one we had tried previously. There's a lot of low income in that area, and that's now been incorporated into the grant this year. So we're very optimistic that we'll have better success this time.
Mr. Chairman, there's one thing I neglected to say about the boating access. I just want to let Newport Richey and Port Richey know my legislative ask, and my board members, because we don't even know what we're asking for, so I just found out what Jack was asking for. My legislative ask is going to be funds to add 2 more boat ramps for the Anclote River Park, and 100 boating storage parking spots. So car and boat trailers for the Anclote River Park. And Keith, is it 2 more boat ramps? Yes, that's correct. 2 more boat ramps, so $1.8 million. So that's my ask.
Okay. Sounds good.
Catherine, to follow up on that, you know, we continue to see a lot of pressure on the Newport Richey ramp. Many times, you know, the parking's, you know, filled capacity, and we've got off-site parking for those folks as well. So and I love the project down there at Anclote, but you know, it's a long coast, and we have access at Hudson and Anclote, and then of course Nick's and our ramp. So I think, you know, those four spots is probably not going to, you know, handle all the people we have. You know, those folks down here on 54 in this neighborhood, they like boating too, right? And they got to find a way to get to the Gulf. So, I think we all need to put our heads together and find maybe some other access points. So,
to add to that, there's been a new ownership up at Sunwest Park, Sunwest Harbor Town, not the county park, and they're going to be looking at actually improving boater access, as well as hopefully building their own little marina type thing, a little storage as well. And if we can get that channel done as well down the road, that could open up for several more slips as well.
Yeah, we got a pretty valuable coast on our west coast, and we need to make sure that we have more boating access, because we found out we finally got the work for doing scalloping and all, and it's taken off and done real well. Brought a lot of people here that wouldn't come here before for scalloping, or couldn't because we didn't have a season. But these seasons we've had in the past 2 or 3 years have made a difference, and I think we need that. That's an economic driver to bring people to the West Coast. So it's real good, been good for the county. So we need to do everything we can and work together at trying to do that. So Okay, what else we got? Green Key Estates, does that take care of
Yeah.
those issues? Okay. Let's move on to community issues. Yep, Leisure Lane redevelopment, town and country villas.
Mr. Chairman, I asked that this agenda item be listed, and the reason I did so was so that the city had an opportunity to publicly thank you for not only your leadership, but your commitment to the project. It truly was a very effective partnership between the county, the city, and Habitat for Humanity. And it converted not only the redevelopment of a neighborhood, but it built lives for people. And it was a pleasure working with the county commission and the administration. And we really thought it was appropriate that we thanked you publicly for all you did on the project. So thank you.
Well, hopefully we're not done. And I wondered, I know that we had a meeting with my county administrator and you, and I think it was you, Rob? Yes. And I think one of the issues that's holding us up from going forward is the infrastructure. And I know that we were wanting to move forward, but also wanted you to see what the city was going to put in. I wondered if you happened to bring that paper that showed what your commitment would be if moving forward.
I did not bring the city's commitment for the public improvements with me, but I do recall that it was road improvements, it was street lighting, it was the establishment of a neighborhood park, along with some other items, but the investment was $1 million, just under $1 million on the part of the city.
I think it was over $1 million.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know my brother-in-law, he didn't know where we were meeting, and we're going to have to fix this. We can't get cell service in here. So he didn't know where we were, but he's on his way. And for those of you, I can't get any.
Who do you have?
AT&T.
Cricket Wireless?
I have AT&T. And then I'm on Wi-Fi, and I'm still having a hard time. But I know my brother-in-law, Frank Starkey, did a layout for Leisure Lane and is donating his services and is on the board of Habitat. But I think that, and maybe I need my county administrator to step in here, but we'll see. I think we have board support to move forward, and we have, I think there's a couple $1 million that are needed for infrastructure, and I'm hoping that we have that in our federal funds to help with that area.
I just want to say along with that, you can't see the borders between the county and the city and the city and the city.
But that's a donut hole.
Yeah, and that's sometimes a problem. But the public doesn't know that, but we know that, and so anytime that we can work together is a great positive for not only the county but the city, or in the city.
Mr. Chairman, just to
Yes, sir.
stay on that subject matter for a second. This may be Ms. Mans or Mr. Biles. When is that annexation taking place? The city's going to annex that portion of Leisure Lane, which has been talked about. Yeah, I think you were waiting. Weren't you not waiting for this redevelopment to happen, and then you're going to annex that portion of?
The plan, as is currently contemplated, would be after the infrastructure
Okay.
is put in place, then the city would annex the enclave through an
Okay.
interlocal agreement.
Okay.
And then we would start our investment in the property.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sounds good.
I might add also, thank you to Catherine Starkey and Dan Biles. We had a very productive meeting talking about what we can do together, both as city and county, to finish bringing this whole area up. It's an exciting opportunity, I think, for us all.
So, Mr. Chairman, I haven't heard from, I'd like to hear from the county administrator, because, matter of fact, I think he should be sitting up here. And if we do these future meetings,
Yeah,
I don't know why he's over there.
He's hiding.
I'm good back here.
No.
and we did the cell phone thing on purpose. Commissioner, we had a meeting, very productive meeting, where we kind of saw what the city was willing to bring to the table. And so what we are working on is, there's the utility piece is about a $2 million issue. And so we need to step through a couple of the ARP projects first to see then how those work out from a funding perspective, to see if there's going to be some dollars available. So it's not a FY22 issue, but we do need to work on the interlocal to actually memorialize the agreement. So that's something we can work on, but we aren't going to have the funding in 22 for the utility piece. So we would need to see how the first one is the purchase of Lindrick is the first big item. We need to see how, some of the prices on the jail come in. Those are really the two big drivers right now on the ARP dollars. So once we know that, then we'll have a better idea if there's some available or if I'm gonna have to go look in another pot.
All right, so Dan, as we've talked, once I think you'll get comfortable as far as this, between the city investment and what was gonna happen, how it was gonna play out, I think it's gonna be a good idea to actually do a legislative ask jointly, just like we did with Lindrick, to try to get some of that funding too. But I think we have a comprehensive plan, totally what we're gonna do, what's gonna happen exactly. It'll make it easy for our legislators too.
I think
For next year.
For next year.
Yeah, I think you'll find that our board is very willing to step out and help. We're not the big pot of gold that you're probably looking for, but we need to share together and make these things happen. So we care about our citizens, and they're your citizens, but they're also our citizens. So, but I think working together is the best way to tackle some of these problems, because the cost of some of these projects is very costly to all of us.
Well, I'll tell you, the detriment to that whole area, between all the bad things that were going on there now to how it is now, the potential that's there, Habitat having 51 lots that this county commission has funded to make that happen. I know it's the headaches off you guys getting phone calls, et cetera, what was going on there from years ago. And, Mike Carbelli, your team and all that went in there twice to go through and clean out 2 separate levels have been phenomenal. So the groundwork's laid for a great asset to be created there.
And I'm sure the business that had that whole homeless community tap into it, using their electricity and water, I'm sure they're very happy that that's not happening anymore. And I see Marcy here from our community department. I always get development and services mixed up, so I don't remember which one it is. Community development, which makes no sense. I think it's a strange name, but if I recall, and Frank's not here yet, in that layout that he did, not only were there single-family homes, but there were some multi-family buildings. And I think that we should pursue, Marcy, seeing if we can get some of our federal money to go in there and build some of the workforce housing type of, quadruplex, or I think that's what he had. Does anyone remember the plan Frank did? That there were a couple duplexes and some quadruplexes, and I'd like to see a variety of housing going in there, not just the single family, because it's so needed in that area. And I'm sorry Frank's not here, but we could have some federal money to go in there and help build some of those homes.
Yeah, and talking to Mike Sutton from years ago, multifamily is something he would like to see in there as well. So I think we've got enough lots, some of them combined right next to each other, that you can actually put a few of those things together and sprinkle them around and make all that work.
All right, how about the Harbor's West Market redevelopment area?
So this kind of ties in with a little bit with 7 in my mind, and I have Derek off getting something printed that I hope can add to this conversation. But some of you may know I have a lot of communities in my district that are from Little Road to the water line, and my northern boundary to the Pinellas County line. Then that's the West Harbor's South community, and Jack has and I think maybe Commissioner Fitzpatrick has some of that, of the Harbor's North. And I have 117 neighborhoods in that district, in that area, and I've tried to organize them into the Harbor South Leadership Council, kind of like a CONA for just that area. And because their needs are are so great in most of those communities. A lot of them, actually, their HOAs fall apart. They have voluntary civic associations, and they look to the county to step in and be their HOA, and especially on code enforcement and other issues within their communities. And it's a really big, big ask from the county to have us act as your HOA code enforcement entity. So we also have the sheriff come, and then we meet 4 times a year, and we have the sheriff come always, or the sheriff's deputies, Captain Frick, and then we have code enforcement, and then we have various members of the Pasco County staff come, the libraries, parks, development, health. The health director was there last time, and we educate these communities into what's going on in the county and how to get resources to help their neighborhoods. But I feel like we still have a long way to go to act on some of the ideas that the ULI brought to us when they did their report in Pasco County and focused a lot on the harbors. Our planning department spent a lot of time dividing that whole corridor into 13 distinct areas. I don't have the planning word for what those are called, but got the idea at our last harbors meeting to maybe it's time that we just do something a little bigger on that corridor. And so it involves Port Richey and New Port Richey and the county. And that is to put a task force together to bring together county staff and the various departments, someone from your city, and the various agencies and the sheriff's office, and work on problems, identifying the big issues and finding solutions, and then having an action plan to work towards solutions. We're taking little bites of it. We've got the landscaping on 19, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and I cannot tell you how busy my office is with the calls and complaints coming in from just in my district there. It's just overwhelming for us. And so this involves redevelopment, involves how to deal with the homeless. You might have seen in the paper, we're looking at a new ordinance that might help people be safer on the 19 corridor, not be allowed to stand in the road and try and conduct business. But I feel like with the homeless that are in that area, we're just moving them from one empty lot to another empty lot, and we don't have a plan. Well, Marcy has a great plan to get a lot of them into homes. How many families? 250 homes. So we've taken 250 something, either singles or families off the street this year and put them into homes. But there's, I'm sure you see it, and you see it. We still have a problem, and there's some people who don't want to go into a home, don't want to be helped. So, but we just can't let them live behind the bank, or, So we need solutions, and so we're working on a white paper for this task force to bring to the county administrator, to the county here, because we're going to have to devote. I hope to have a staff person dedicated to this, but that is kind of where I'm coming from on a plan for the harbors on 19 along the west side. You want to say anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think, the counties and the cities have done a great job with the medians up and down the coast. I get compliments on it all the time. Making that happen makes it look better, so that's a good step. As far as the panhandling issue, we've been struggling with that for years. Enforcement issues, some sheriffs even around the whole state don't enforce it, et cetera. But the Lee County ordinance that we're looking to adopt, we've already introduced it, I think is something where it makes it where you can't panhandle in the right of way. And you can't have an interaction, a contraction, or any type of negotiate. I don't know, what's the word, Patrick?
Physical interaction.
Physical interaction, all right. So it's like a transfer of money to a person, basically what it is. So now the people that would normally contribute, if they find out they can't contribute or be breaking the law, it may keep them from doing that. My thought is, if you can get that source of money away from people, they're not going to go do it. And if the cities would take a look at it, Port Richey and New Port Richey, just to make sure they don't go from the county, now they leave to go to the city. We could be better unified together to have the same law in place that people know they can't do it anywhere in this county, and let them find another way. I mean, there are so many jobs out there, so many opportunities out there that, we had one gentleman, owned a business, owned a restaurant, drove around to the people who had a guy and 2 little kids with him at the corner of 19 and 52. He offers them food. And the guy says, well, I really don't need food, I just need money. It's like, what are we really doing? So I think it's something, again, this is going to be a unified thing across the board. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, if your staff would send us a copy of the proposed ordinance as soon as you get it put together, we'd entertain it in Newport Richey. Absolutely.
Something else that we have coming on Massachusetts, it's been a long time coming, but we have 77 affordable units to be built by the Pasco County Housing Authority for homeless veterans and families. It's 40 units for homeless veterans, 31 units for non-elderly disabled who are transitioning out of institutional or other segregated settings at serious risk of institutionalization. And so if you know where that is, that's kind of across from Magnolia Valley. It's next to Whole Note Acres. And that's coming with federal money, and the state put in. I think we put in $2 million, I believe, and they had some flooding issues that I think that they had to work out, some drainage issues, but I think that's resolved, and they'll be moving forward. And then they're going to be coming with a project up at Vincent House for some more housing, but we all know we need a lot more, and there is not one low barrier shelter in the county, I believe. Especially, we're dealing with the families, but we don't have for the single men and the single women. We have a few private ones, but not any. We don't have enough. Go ahead,
Mr. Altman.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. And I know this discussion about homeless and housing and economic conditions does connect to the Harbor's West Market redevelopment plan. But I think the first thing that plan said was just how important to the county the economics of the West Side was, just how much financial activity goes on. And so I appreciate looking down to 7, but if I could, on the plan itself, there are so many exciting opportunities that have come forth. Now, when I served on your board in 2000, 2004, you used community development block grant money in a huge way for Tommytown and also for, I believe, the Hispanic community on the east side. Those were major projects to repave entire communities. So we spent a lot of time talking about, these one-off projects, which are important, but I would love to see the strength of focus of all of our entities on economic redevelopment. So again, when you talk about the boat ramps and the Anclote ramp or the Sun City or the Hudson, the Harbor's plan was very targeted to say, start in our little triad space here. Start at the river, start with our communities. And I know you're doing some Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council visioning. We've got some great reports that our council has received from Muldrow, who helped us with our makeover. And we've got a lot of really ambitious things that we want to do. And a lot of that is using some of the money we get from the redevelopment. So I think it's critically important that we all see this vision, develop it together, and get behind it. As you mentioned, your scallops and your tourism. At the tourism board, our zip codes were identified as the #1 location for tourists to come, which is no surprise because folks like to boat and see the sunset and go out. But yet, the West Side has not seen a single tourism project, and any inquiries I've made have had a pretty closed door. So I would really like for you to share with us your long-term strategy for what we are, which is a tourist destination, and an economy based on hotels, motel, restaurant, bar, lifestyle, and have that focus, because we can't qualify for the economic funds that are going and pouring into your new corridors. Exciting hospital that you've got there. Those folks and those CEOs are going to want to live in a beautiful city. So everything plays into each other. And I think it's time that we start really focusing on the coast as well as the sports coast.
So okay, I was told I was holding this too close. And I agree with you 100%. Let me tell you a few things that are going on. So the county bought the Anklet River Park from Duke. You know, people may not realize we rented that from them for like $10 a year. And we are embarking on a major renovation of that park and have gone out to bid on a restaurant that will be on the water there at the mouth of the Anklet River. That will, I think, will be just a fantastic economic driver for that holiday area. And hopefully maybe they'll have someone who rents kayaks and water sports vehicles there. Part of that park design has a little festival park for concerts and seafood festivals and all those kind of things. So that park will not only be for boating, but it'll be for other activities as well. And across the street, any day now, will be the new, I think it's the Anklet River Fish Camp, I think it's called. So a 300-unit development that's also going to have a big club attached to it that the residents can join, with a pool, tennis courts, restaurant, bar. So some more activation near the coast. The county has some property next to that was given to us in a DRI from, I think it was Ryland. And we're looking to put in a campground. But we don't have the capital money yet, but we think we'll have a really high-end, very nice campground there next to the fish camp. And so we're trying to activate that part of the coast in the Holiday area. There are some developments coming, some knockdowns coming on 19 that I can't talk about yet because I don't know how far along they are in the development approval process, but some good redevelopment that I'm excited about in some of those awful, outdated strip malls along the site. I know that we were successful in putting in $2 million for redevelopment along the 19 to help businesses with in our budget this year. David Engel is not here, is he?
Yeah, he's there.
Oh, David, do you want to speak to anything that's going on the 19
There's a
quarter?
mic there,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Good morning, David Engel, Economic Growth Director for Pasco County. We have a number of initiatives and we're multi-pronged in the way we're addressing 19. The first thing we're doing is we're exploring bus rapid transit service. Terry Pitos and our MPO are working on that. We are going to be before the Board of County Commissioners on December 7. We have a visualization and economic impact analysis done through the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council that we are going to be introducing to the community and the public. The Board of County Commissioners has also been very generous, and they've initiated a $2 million expenditure out of the American Rescue Plan funds, and we're going to spearhead with a redevelopment pilot project for Route 19. And we've also been engaged in helping small business. We have a number of landscape grants we've also instituted in the harbors, allowing small businesses up to $20,000 to update their property and bring it into code. And we are initiating through our community development partners a small business loan program.
And the other thing I would say, we have AmSkills coming in down there, and we bought the old Polish American Club, and any day now they will sign the contract with the contractor they picked, and there's, I think, $1.4 million of renovation going to go onto that building, and we're in for a $3 million earmark with Congressman Bilirakis that they're telling me is looking very good. So we think we'll be adding on to that building, and so $4.8 million of investment there for workforce development. And Metropolitan Ministries is in the middle of a $8 million campaign. They just got $5 million from the state. They're going to be redoing their whole campus and building some more apartments there on their campus. And soon, Dave and I will be able to talk about a manufacturer that's moving from Chicago to the 19 corridor, but I can't tell you where. I'm excited about that project. So we're seeing some stuff happen. And I don't know if you want to talk about anything more in your.
Yeah, what I like with the harbors market, one of the things down in Pinellas County is they have their high hazard area. I think they treat it a little differently than we do. I think we penalize ourselves more. We did a few years ago. We're looking at that now. We got a citizens committee. If you guys have any contractors that want to take a look at that and put some input about what we can do better. But in Pinellas County, you can actually pull a permit in the 50% rule. And I believe they can go back the next day when the work is done and go resubmit for another permit. We don't do the same thing here. We're afraid of the repercussions on FEMA insurance, et cetera. But I think it's something to take a look at, because if we're hindering ourselves when others have found a way to do it, it may be good. I don't know if you guys have experienced anything like that. Any of your contractors? No?
I'm not following you.
Okay. I'll bring it up another point. Like I said, we're just getting some groups looking at. As far as to trying to work together, and I want to say, I thank all of you for being here today. You know, when I look across the table, I see poor Richie, no one's here other than the administrator. It's not a good feeling I have at this point. I don't know why they're not here, but it's kind of insulting that we spend all this time, try to work together with the city. We think the city's got some tremendous potential. To not have anybody show up is very disappointing. So I want to put my attention to you guys. You know, Green Key we've talked about, right, each and every one of us at some point in time. I think that's a jewel for the city if we make that better. You know, with the Green Key improvements, to take the roadway, work jointly together to take it right from US 19 and give it better signage even. Bring it all the way in, and we'll take care of, let's say, our share, you guys take care of your share, work together at the same time to get this done. I think that'd be a huge boost for the area. We just put a new seawall out there. We can get Army Corps for more sand if we have to make some beach improvements. But I think as far as something we can do to help with the West Harbor, let's start working together right there. And let's elevate that up. Yeah.
And that's a goal, part of the goal of that task force is to look at not just homelessness and code enforcement issues, but economic development opportunities as well. Absolutely.
This might bounce back to one of the other discussions we were talking about, but Commissioner, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of opportunities there along Green Key Road and going out. I'm not 100% positive, but I believe back when the Boy Scout Council owned the Robert Crown Preserve, that had deep water access. And if we're looking at potentially another place where people could launch boats, that may be something for the county to look at.
That could be a great opportunity for us. I think it's privately owned right now.
No, sir. I believe the Boy Scout Council sold it or did something with it that resulted in it belonging to Pasco County.
Okay, I think there's another parcel beside it that could be helpful too. All right, we'll take a close look at that. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we've been kind of skipping around because we've hit different subjects on the items we have left. And Commissioner Moore and myself, we sit here and we're from the east side of the county, so we're open to hear all we can hear about the west side, because I'm sitting there listening and I'm learning as I'm listening, because it's important to us that we take care of things for our citizens on the west side of the county. So, but our knowledge is based on from 41 back to the east. So it's, we know our issues, but we want to hear any issues that you might have that rise to the top of any of these lists. I mean, we have, I don't think we've talked too much about trails, but Ms. Starkey usually brings trails up. So we all lean on her for trails because she is very enthusiastic about working with trails, making sure they're connected, and done a great job in doing just that. So, but anything that Newport Richey and John Corson, Port Richey. We appreciate you being here. We're sorry your other members are not here because we'd like to see them. I've been here 5 or 6 years now and haven't seen many of the councilmen and all from Port Richey. But Newport Richey, I've visited with them, been over and did a tour and see what they're doing and great work they're doing out amongst their community. Their interest in bringing up and doing better things for the city of Newport Richey has been able to reach out to their citizens in those areas in a lot of older homes. I saw where they had gone in and remodeled and brought them up to what you would expect them to be. And they've done a great job in that. And I think they've just followed the lead. The city there has been given a good lead for fixing up their city, and I think they've done a good job, and I think the citizens are following that lead. So,
I think that. Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd allow me, before we leave the Green Key Beach Improvement Project, I want to, of course, thank the commissioners for their comments so far, but I wanted to focus in on the Green Key Beach specifically, and the reason I wanted to do so is because the city owns a portion of it, and so I think it is a key opportunity for the city and the county to work together on a redevelopment project. And what I would like to ask for is permission from, of course, the county administrator to work with Mr. Wiley on a master planning for that beach area, along with a connection from 19 on a project that I think there's an unspoken cry for some more positive activity in that area. And a good project would do just that.
Great idea.
Okay.
To the trails then? To the trails issue.
Okay.
One of the things that was obvious when the map was pulled up, and most of the residents who live west of US 19, away from our city, are county residents, whether it be Gulf Harbors or all of that area behind there. We do have the fortune that our city manager is in an annexed community on the other side of the highway, but most of those folks are not city residents, and therefore, we're unable to collect any property taxes from them. However, the economics of our downtown and the talk about trails, if we do the underpass to Port Richey to connect our two cities, we still haven't solved the issue of the folks who live away from our city directly across our highway of getting in. And so, for many years, in fact, the first meeting I had when I got elected this time, we were informed that we had lost the legislative allocation for the overpass because of expenses, at the Marine Parkway. So that is still on the list, overpass, underpass. But, the property owner along Trouble Creek has for a long time, Gunther Flagg has for a long time advocated a recreational bike trail that would connect us to the Gulf of Mexico. And the state has the Coast to Coast Trail, which comes across the entire state from the Atlantic, and it gets to the Suncoast Parkway, and it kind of then segues into the suburgatory of Hillsborough County and across many major highways before it gets to the Gulf. So there's been a vision that's been out there for a long time for us to connect and have Newport Richey and Pasco County be the Gulf landing of the Coast to Coast Trail. And just as importantly, the connection to the Pinellas Trail, which does come along Highway 19 right now to Gulf Harbors. The connection of all of that economic pocketbooks from Pinellas County to come into our downtown as they extend their bicycle trails. Dunedin has been a great example of it. The city of Clearwater is just going out for some economic advice, and they have made a point of saying that they want to make better use of the Pinellas Trail through their downtown, where they have quite a few challenges. And of course, they're doing huge things along the intercoastal there. So I think that's a great boost to our economy in the city. to connect to Port Richey, but also to get across the highway to let the Gulf Harbors, the folks that live with our city on their envelope but don't live in our city, the chance to come across by bike, and also, whatever we can do with the golf carts.
So on here, you see the Trouble Creek Greenway. We pulled it up here, and this actually was the very first meeting I had with Dan Biles when he was new to the county, and Michelle Baker was still here in that overlap time. Gunther Flag. So we have a park out there. It's called Eagle Point Park, and it is a canoe launch park. At the very tip, you can see the road that comes out to it at the end of Trouble Creek, and they go out into the Gulf Harbor South Channel, and then they can also fish all around there in Philman's Bayou. And I'm going to guess Mr. Moore's maybe been fishing in there, but it's not. But that park is not connected to anything, and we have this vision and we have this plan to find a way to go through the Chickendance property. Actually, it was owned by the Sierra family that was out there in your district, well, in our district, Mike Moore, both of us. And he bought it, and Pete, you used to live out there as well, right? No, it was your brother. So there's we've been in discussions with Gunther, and he's very willing to donate land to have a trail go through his property. And I don't know if we can pull up like the property appraiser's map, or we need to go into that detail here. But Pasco County actually has some easements in here, and so does the city. And I had talked to the previous owner of Volkswagen, Scott Fink, if we could bring the trail through. So, and he said yes. So he's sold that now, but we still have this vision of bringing a trail that would link Eagle Point Park to the trail that's on US 19, and eventually come down Strawber and connect to our coastal Anclote Trail. But we call this the Trouble Creek Greenway, and we hope to put some more eyes on this in the upcoming years as we're reworking our Blueways, Greenways, and Trails Master Plan at the county, and that trail is of great importance to us. And also along Strawber, as you guys know, that there's a lot of cyclists that use Strawber, just like they go up to your area, Commissioner Oakley, up in the hills. They love to cycle on this road along the coast. So, and we have a great trail now on the coastal Anclote Trail.
We're starting to have some good trails up there. I wish they would go on some of those trails instead of the roads, because it's kind of dangerous. Some of our roads are pretty narrow, but they're going around curves and they're going over hills, and they do like to bicycle on that, but much safer on a trail than it is on a road. So.
You can see Saturday and Sunday mornings out on 54 and the toll road, how many people are on bicycles.
Oh yeah, a lot of people out there. Yes.
This would connect the city to the water by trail.
Right.
And this is one of the ways that you can, if you're staying in that new fabulous hotel, whenever it's going to open in downtown Newport Richey, you know, get out to the water.
Yeah.
One thing too to talk about, and Commissioner Stark, I know you'll jump in on this as well. When we at a recent MPO meeting, we found out other areas got their overpasses funded directly without having to do it on their own.
Yeah, so on the Suncoast Trail, if you know some of your cyclists, and you'll see that the trail in Hernando County that goes over, I think it's State Road 50, was funded by the Turnpike Authority. The trail, they're building an overpass now in Citrus County, or Hernando may be getting another one, I don't know. But those are all funded by the Turnpike Authority. But in Pasco County, we're having to self-fund the overpass on State Road 54, and then the overpass on State Road 52. So we're hopefully going to be going to Tallahassee and having a discussion about getting some of that Turnpike money down here to help fund ours. I just think we didn't ask, and so we didn't get it. So there's no reason why we can't go ahead and ask now. But yeah, those we shouldn't have to be self-funding when the other counties are getting it funded by the state.
Yep, I agree. Okay.
Yep.
Well, some other issues we've talked about some landscaping and things of that nature.
Yeah, so if
Keeps
you don't
coming
mind
back
me.
to Commissioner Stark.
Yeah, sorry. These are my little babies here. The sign ordinance. So I've mentioned to you guys before that what we did at the county years ago was we capped the height of our signs at 11 feet. And so I think you've maybe asked for a sign ordinance or looked at it, but hopefully we can stop having the really high lollipop signs. I'm hopeful one day you'll bring your sign ordinance down to monument signs as well. But I wanted to tell you something that we have at the county, again, is that, and you need to pay attention to this in your district for sure, is that if a sign is damaged or the business is out of business for over 6 months, code enforcement, if they're notified, they notify the owner. You have to make a complaint. They don't do it themselves, sadly. But if you make a complaint, and they will notify the owner that they have 6 months to fix their sign. And if they don't fix their sign, then it has to be cut down. And they cut it down to the 11-foot height, the pole. So they can use that pole in their next sign, it's still the base, but they now have to conform to the new sign ordinance. And I've been vigilant on 19 to get rid of the old broken down signs and get these new ones coming in. And so, and we actually, Patrick just took we just won, everybody, the Wells Fargo on Little Road that has a gigantic sign, and two gigantic signs. One was just humongous, though, the one on Little. And they put for sale or lease on the sign, and they said, well, it's not abandoned. It's got, a message on it. And how far did you have to take that to win in court?
The Second District Court of Appeals heard it, just affirmed trial court's ruling on it, and it'll be coming down in the next few months.
So we'll be getting those signs down. So it really helps clean up the area. The other thing that we're doing with the landscape is, while we have a pretty robust landscape ordinance, we haven't enforced it after the businesses have moved in. And so we have a lot of businesses that have let their landscape ordinance, let landscape just die. I've even heard stories that once they get their CO, some of them take the landscape out and put it somewhere else. So I don't have any proof of that. That's one of those stories. But we are starting to work on enforcement of our landscape rules and our development and ordinance. Some of our folks will be going out and making these businesses put back in the landscape that they let die or they took out without permission. And so we hope that will start to bring back that good look that we require and that, the rules that they're supposed to follow.
Debbie, could you talk a little bit about our landscaping, commercial landscaping 19? We're helping businesses.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, I certainly can. I want to start, though, by saying that I listed both of these agenda items as topics based on Commissioner Starkey's discussion with me about these over time. I have not introduced them to my city council yet, though. I thought this would be an appropriate forum, though, for us to discuss some of and represent the benefits of some shared standards between the county and the city, both in terms of signage and in terms of landscaping. And in the coming months, I will be introducing your sign and your landscape standards in case there's some things that we can steal right from your ordinance and slap them in ours, so that we do have some common standards that will benefit both of us. The landscape program that Deputy Mayor Davis is referring to is a program that we do administer through our CRA program, and it is a grant program, and it is made available to targeted businesses in the CRA district that are interested in making improvements on their property, and it is a 50% match. There's a cap on it of $25,000. And it is to implement largely landscape improvements if you're on US Highway 19.
Nice.
Just, if I may follow up a little bit, Commissioner Starkey, I think I was on the Citizen Advisory Committee when the sign ordinance and the landscape ordinance came in through the county. And I've had opportunity to have some light discussions with our manager regarding those. I think that, particularly on the west side of the 19 corridor, certainly I'm sure the city of Port Richey, and I know I can speak for our city that we want to remain and keep our identity, right? But however, because we are, was pointed out, city, county, city, that we still kind of run together. And I think something, a cohesive ordinances just makes the whole area look better. We think about landscaping, the median landscaping along 19 made a world of difference. I think we might take a look at that and make sure all that landscaping is still alive and so forth. I think there's room to just peek at that maybe. As I drive up, some medians look so much better than the others. And so I'm looking forward to us reviewing our ordinances that comes down, because I know it's made a difference in the county in those years it's been in effect.
And just a question for the city of Port Richey. Do you have requirements for commercial buildings for landscape?
I'd have to check. I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, that would be good. And maybe you want to look at the sign ordinances as well. And certainly that tool that 6 months of a vacant or beat up sign, to have that come down and be replaced with something better really does go a long way. Yeah.
As you look at the signed ordinance we have, and I'm going to say for 98% of the county, it works great. But when you consider 19, and Catherine's not going to like this, but the pole sign, if it has height, it's easy to see, and a lot of businesses are going to like it, and that's why I want to take them all down. Is there ways to do better? I think you need to take a close look to it. Because the monument sign on 19, when you got bushes around it, et cetera, it's going to be hard to see. The requirements that we have may be difficult for US 19. And again, 98% of the county, I think it's gold, and I think 19 doesn't need to be approved for signage, but I just don't know if the ordinance we have in place addresses just that. When it comes to berms, take a close look at that as well, because if you have a berm that's up,
I don't like
yeah, so that, I think we're working on it, so if we're not, but the berms make it tough to keep them landscaped. So if you keep it flatter, it might be easier. So as you can take a close look at it, and if you want to share feedback with us, maybe we do a separate overlay for the area. If we come up with something better, it could be a better way to go. But again, thank you.
Is the demolition, did you put that on or did we put it on?
I asked that it be listed as an agenda item, in large part because I'm uncertain what the current policy is of the county related to the demolition of slums and blight. At one point, you had a very large bank of funding. In fact, the city used to apply to your fund for the demolition of some blighted structures. At this point, we no longer apply to you for funding, and I'm not certain how many blighted structures you typically can handle within a fiscal year.
Well, I remember when we had that pot of money and we had taken some economic development money years ago and put it towards demolition. And I don't think we have that anymore. CDBG, it was CDBG money. But I can tell you that we have, I think, 300 demolition properties in line for demolition. And this is a job opportunity for someone. One company that does demolition in the county. And I think the guy just passed away. So I think we might have just signed a contract with a new company, but at 300, there's enough work for a couple more companies to start taking them down. That's we had a backlog of 200 last year, then we added another 100. So big backlog in demolition.
Can I just
yeah, go ahead.
follow up on that a little bit? Are you talking about mostly residential or commercial and residential?
I'm sorry, I should have clarified,
okay.
residential.
Oh, residential. Okay, I was going to say, because with our slum and blight ordinance as a county that we passed, it's been a few years ago now, we put the pressure on the owner of the actual property, the commercial owner of the property, which makes more sense. It's not use taxpayer dollars for companies that, or entities that allow this to happen. And it's actually worked out. We've done a good job with that too. I think you've probably looked at that before, what we've done. And Patrick can speak to this. There was one recently on 41, Patrick and Christy, I think you both worked on it, where they're actually redeveloping. They actually raised that building themselves and are coming up from scratch, because if not, they're going to get hit with $500 a day. That adds up, doesn't it? Sometimes you got to put the pressure on them. Right, go ahead. I think Dan wants to talk too.
So we have actually 2 demo contractors right now under contract, and the board budgets $500,000 a year for this program. So
One of those guys died from COVID a couple weeks ago, sadly. Yeah, Charlie. Commissioner Moore, though, we still have to, for a lot of these, we pay the demolition company to go do the work, and we put the lien on the property, but we don't see that money for a long time, if ever. Sometimes we're not at the top. I think our liens are lower, sadly, to get refunded.
True, but at the same time, it has worked quite a bit on 1941 in those areas. I mean, we look at what you used to call the place in Holiday.
Helen Ellis Walk-In Center?
Yeah, Fallujah.
Oh, Fallujah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it worked, right?
We have a lot of names.
It worked.
Yeah, it did.
It gets a lot of them moving, because that's a hefty bill they have to pay.
And the sheriff, we talked about this at the Harbor South Leadership Council. Businesses need to register with our sheriff to have no trespassing and they need to put a no trespassing sign on their property, and they need to be registered with the sheriff so that they can go and trespass anyone who's living on the property once it's been demolished. Because sadly, we took down the Helen Ellis Walk-In Center in Holiday, and now every few weeks it becomes a homeless camp, and it's owned by a doctor in Texas, and we have to go through this rigmarole. So not only do you have to demolish, you have to make sure that that property gets registered with the sheriff for no trespassing.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Talking about slum and blight, and it reminds me the last time we met a couple of years back, there was a discussion about the CRAs and the proper use of CRA funds, et cetera. We just came back from the Florida Redevelopment Association's meeting, and there's all kind of legal advice, and it's important to be able to redevelop our cities, as I think you all have agreed. But one of the fellows that's there, Evan Johnson, works for Pinellas County, and Pinellas, being a charter county, has a little more oversight, obviously. But he unveiled a report a strategy that they had to ensure that the elimination of slum and blight incorporated some of the social justice issues that were part of the process. And it would be helpful, I think, for the county to speak to Mr. Johnson, because Pinellas County has one CRA itself, the Lealman District in Pinellas. And so as you talk about some of these areas that are outside of our city limits and the need for there to be some kind of a plan going forward, the county may well want to consider establishing some CRAs, and I think Mr. Johnson is a great resource. So Evan Johnson with Pinellas County. And I also wanted to throw in the microtransit, because I know our commissioner, or our councilman, is on the MPO and has told us that microtransit is coming. And Debbie, you've ordered an electric trolley, which is the same as what's over in Stewart in Martin County across the state. And that trolley probably won't be enough for us to really run a little system. But the idea of microtransit is all falling in as well to something important to us.
Is that to go back and forth from the garage and go up and down the city? So I want to commend you guys
Well,
on that. That's,
yeah.
and Councilman Davis brought it up to the TDC, and I was speaking with Mayor Marlowe before. I mean, that's good for you guys. I mean, that's awesome. Congratulations on that garage and what you're doing down there.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you. And I know the high enforcement team is going and tearing down the abandoned buildings, but the abandoned businesses, such as Mobile on Little and Ridge Road, they continuously have the homeless that are staying there, and there's nothing fencing it off completely. So I wasn't sure if there was a code that we can update if it's abandoned, or if we can't make contact. And you had mentioned having an agreement with the sheriff's office. Well, if we can't get a hold of the owners after so long, then we should be able to have some kind of jurisdiction over that property. Thank you.
Back to transit for a second. My wife we just celebrated our 30th anniversary. She booked us down for a place down to Siesta Key, so we went down there. They've got 2 buses that were running. We're going to walk down the street for dinner. Back and forth, free to ride, up and down. Open air, kind of like a trolley-ish type thing. I think we should do this up and down. From Holiday all the way up and down 19, even into the cities, et cetera. Maybe it takes 2 of them to run it, but I think that'd be something, if we can incorporate with the MPO to help out, transportation-wise to do it. I think there's advertisers that participate in it. We can probably work a big plan. I think it would be a great addition for the whole county to help us connect everybody and make it easier, especially those that stay in hotels that maybe don't want to drive and just kind of like go from place to place. And let's face it, with downtown Newport Richey, what you guys have done down there, and like you all know, my daughter has just ended up moving out of there, but she loved living downtown. It was like pre-COVID, so she'd get to enjoy all the great downtown because of the COVID shutdown. But what you have going down there is such a great activity center that people, if they can go from spot to spot to spot, I think it'd be phenomenal.
They do
All the
that.
way around.
They do that in Pinellas County. They have a trolley that runs from Tarpon down to Clearwater, $3 all day. Get on, get off whenever you want. And I think it's $4 running from Clearwater down to St. Pete all day. Run on it. So it's definitely an opportunity.
If I could, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I'm glad you're talking about this. This is something that Ms. Mans and I have discussed. Port Richey would be interested in participating money. I don't want to be in the transit business. That would be a new business for Port Richey, but both Newport and the county are in that business. I think there's an opportunity to loop a transit from downtown Newport up into the Cody River and back down to the garage. When I take my wife out for dinner, she wants to wear heels. She's not going to walk, from the parking lot on 19 across to Catches or Hooters or wherever we're going. So, but I think there's an opportunity to connect the communities, run it along Grand Boulevard where there's a developing bar and restaurant area, and across 19, which I assume would be legal, and loop through the Cody River Landing area. So I know the devil's in the details, but Port Richey is interested in that. We don't have a lot of money, and I don't want to be in the transit business. But if I can facilitate and encourage and help pay, I'd
We'll
take that to my
let
council.
Port Richey buy an advertisement on the side of it.
Glad to do that.
I think if you take a close look, connecting the 2 cities going back and forth would be phenomenal. And then you could have a north-south one for another connection point. So you get like maybe 2 separate runs going, but if they interconnect, it could really make it easy for people.
Mr. Chairman, can I just get on this a little bit more? It's a great idea. So you talked about Siesta Key. So you have the city, or it's not even the city or the county that's involved. But a lot of them are doing the free rides, but what they're doing, they're allowing the people to operate those free ride, whether it be the motorized golf carts, which you've seen, there's vans. That might be something to look at as well, because now the investments on the private side, right? You're allowing them to do it, and they're free rides, and they work off tips. That's literally what they do. Multiple cities, especially beach communities are doing that now. So maybe that's somewhere to start, and working with the county and the city and allowing them to operate those vehicles within the county and all jurisdictions might be something to look at. Maybe talk to somebody that operates one in Siesta Key, because we took it up there when we stayed in Turtle Beach in our motorhome. We took one of the free ride. Our whole family took one of the free ride It was like more of a van though, but it was privately operated.
Well, I know that the Transit Authority in Sarasota, is that where Siesta Key is part of Sarasota? Yeah,
Sarasota.
they have a couple of those, and it's operated by their Transit Authority, SCAT, yeah.
Yeah, they have both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think to start, to have one that we run that is dependable, because it has to be dependable if people are going to use it, that circulates all the time. Can't be that much to get one of those trolleys and hire someone. And if we charge a fare, certainly help cover the costs. Just to go back to microtransit, the county is working we are working on a microtransit grant, I believe. It's going to, I think, start in Commissioner Oakley's district. But we do hope to bring microtransit to the whole county, and it would. There's different ways that could operate. When we envisioned it for the holiday area, I think we were thinking that it was something small that could go from house to house. But then there's also last mile. You can call it and have it come to your house and let it take you to the nearest bus stop. So there's different ways that can operate, and I think that is the future. But we are working on that at T-BARTA and at the county.
The last I'd heard from Mrs. Manns, we're looking at taking delivery sometime this month.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. Mid-November is our estimated delivery date.
We're planning on doing basically a loop that'll go up at the parking garage and then loop around the historic downtown and back again, which basically ties everything together. When Ms. Manns told me that Port Richey had some interest in setting up something that would loop between the waterfront and the downtown, I think it's a tremendous idea. It would take another trolley, because I don't know that we could make that entire loop with just one trolley, but
Probably a timing issue.
there would definitely be a timing issue, but it's certainly something to consider, because one of the things that our council has been on record for as long as I can remember is doing whatever we can to help tie the Newport Richey downtown with the Port Richey waterfront. You don't have a downtown, we don't have a waterfront. It's a perfect combination.
Commissioner Moore?
Mariana?
Yeah, I want to ask Commissioner Moore a question. What would you think about if we tried to look at have an agenda item to help sponsor that bus with Pasco County Tourism?
So, yeah, let me talk to Adam. Yeah, I'll talk to Adam. We can look at having that discussion. Yeah, we'll see how much money's in the pot. There's the question, right? How much money is in the pot? It's expensive. So the big capital items, being the Rutgers Red Sports Campus and then the boat ramps on the west side. So we'll just have to look at what the budget is. But yeah, we can have that discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, those are two good items we need to look at in the future and find out the numbers. So again, none of us have all the money, so we need to look at those numbers and come up with the right idea, right plan for everybody to work together. So that'd be good.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to say advertising or sponsorships to help cover the cost of the fairs. So
Could be, yeah.
So on used car lots, did you have a temporary moratorium on used car lots? What did you guys do?
In large part, we instituted an ordinance, and we sought some input from our existing owners of used car lots. In the end, we established development standards for used car dealerships. We bifurcated the ordinance so that there were standards for existing dealerships and new dealerships. The existing dealerships had to, within a 6-month period of time, implement standards that called for the creation of customer parking on site, appropriate display areas for vehicles, meaning the size of the area to accommodate a vehicle had to allow for, you could open the vehicle doors.
Surprise.
and interior and perimeter landscape requirements, and you had to park on a hard surface, meaning asphalt. And then the requirements for if you're a new dealership went a little further, and it went into what size of a sales room and service area room you would need to accommodate your business model based on the size of the property. And it wasn't embraced, I have to tell you, by all of the members of the business community that operated used car dealerships. In the end, though, there were a couple of dealerships that actually thanked the city and understand that they're better represented as a business because they did institute improvements that made them appear to have a better business presence than they did previously.
Wow, you say
Some-
that
some
so
of-
well. I would have used a lot of different words in that whole.
Some of them,
That's how I get in so much trouble.
Some of them used our landscape ordinance too, which helped dress that up. So they got some funding from us that helped that dress the fronts up too. That
Yeah.
19 frontage.
This is a big thorn in my side, and I mean, I feel y'all have taken the lead over us on this, and we're trying to. God, I've been at this for 9 years, and I don't feel I've made much of an improvement. We are getting one on mile stretch, right, Patrick? That GG, you can't even walk between the cars, and yeah, they repaired the cars in the front, and it wasn't a car lot, it was a different kind of business, and now they have. It's just horrible. It's horrible.
I do recall now that we also established distancing requirements between dealerships so that, of course, they weren't neighbors, so to speak, and so that we didn't have an overconcentration of them in any one area of the city.
I'm hopeful that we're working on some changes and enforcement. And one of the things that we're going to look at is if you businesses that have a site plan, approved site plan, and they have X amount of parking spaces approved, and if they've changed from one kind of business to another, but they still have X amount of parking places approved, and that's all they're allowed to put on their lot. But I've talked to this board about a possible used car moratorium, but I definitely think we have challenges that we're going to need to address them like you did. And it's going to come on 301. It's going to come on 41. And I remember counting 60 new used car lots in that Harbor South leadership area. They're on Mile Stretch. They're on Grand. They're on every road. The farm store every once in a while pops up to be a used car lot. It's just really, really frustrating.
Didn't we have to address public bathrooms also when we did that?
We did not as part of this project, but I can tell you my council was frustrated as well, and that's what prompted me to take action.
Okay.
I had one. I just wanted to go over this real quick. This is a draft in the making. Okay. And this is not done, but I've been using this already, even in this draft form, to hand out to people I see at my Publix. They're by Gulf Harbors, or when we left the board meeting the other day, I went to Joanne Fabrics, and there was a woman who came up to me asking for money, and she said she was one paycheck away. They missed a paycheck and were evicted from their home, and the family was living in a motel across from Joanne's. That might be in Port Richey, I'm not sure. And I said, boy, do I have something for you. And hopefully she got a space at the new shelter we opened up on Little Road. But she had a job. She worked at Waffle House, but they were a paycheck or two paychecks, a loss of two paychecks, put them out on the street. And so we're going to refine this, but rather than people hand out money, and when I see someone, I said, I've been handing this out, and when we get it done, I'll give you some copies. And I'm hoping that people can just print them out at home, keep them in their car, and when they see someone in need, just hand it to them.
When people say that and they're behind a paycheck, and if it's due to COVID, they can go apply for the HART program and they can get their arrears paid and caught up, and they'll actually pay up to a year of their rental. So there's no reason.
They just don't know
Okay.
who to call and where to go.
So we're down to only a few minutes left, but let's cover annexation and de-annexation before we finish.
What's the end?
Well, they swap.
Oh.
If, just to tell you a little bit on the east side, city of Zephyr Hills, when we had a bad storm, then we picked up trash around there for the county and the city. And I found out that it looks like your hand. If you stuck your hand up, this street would be city, this street would be county, and just off and on, all the way around. And it'd be great if somehow we could draw a straight boundary line or do it by roads to where we know what's city, what's county, and I think it helps all of us if we do that, so.
Mr. Chairman, I believe this agenda item was advanced by Port Richey.
True.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, I share your concerns and your observation.
Right.
There are places where the lines don't make any sense. The problem that I'm hoping to solve is twofold. One, we have islands of county inside the city. And, I don't know how it got to be that way. I don't know if the city didn't want it or, but it is. And that's issues with fire and PD and SO. Literally within sight of my office is county, but it's an island. And so when something happens in that apartment complex, SO is coming, and my guys are looking out the window, saying, "Yeah, it's right over there." And there's a number of those inside the city limits of Port Richey. For me, the bigger problem to solve is the hundreds of water customers that we have. I asked my staff to put a water service district map over the top of a Port Richey map. We have water customers miles from the city limits. Now, my assumption is they get two bills every month. They get one from me for their water service, and they get one from someone else for their sewer service, and maybe something else for stormwater. It even causes problems when people are trying to figure out how to vote. They don't know where they live. They say, "Yeah, I'm a Port Richey resident. Where do I go?" You're not a Port Richey resident. Yeah, it's on my water bill. Well, yes, you get a water bill from the city, but you're not a Port Richey resident. So there's the mayor and the council have some interest in me chasing this down, and so I wanted to put it on the agenda. At some point, it comes to you if Mr. Biles and I can make some progress on it, but it presents a number of challenges for us and confusion for our residents.
Mr. Biles?
Yeah, bring us a proposal.
I just want to give one example. There's a house fire on Michigan and Washington. And most of Michigan is in the city, but this particular house on the corner of Michigan and Washington is in the county. It's been condemned. It's been sitting there for months. Homeless are in there, but we can't do anything about it, but people think it's in the city. So here it sits, and there's multiple examples like that.
Right.
To get rid of the enclaves.
We have some of the same issues
That's what you gotta
over
do.
on the
Get rid
east
of the
side
enclaves.
also.
Do it up.
There are some areas that are just totally bizarre, and I ran into it actually the last time that I campaigned because I had somebody tell me that they were a Newport Richey voter and they wanted to talk to me about problems they were having in their neighborhood, and I went out and found, no, actually, they have a Newport Richey mailing address, but they're inside the city of Port Richey. Now, for Port Richey's police to come deal with the problem that they were dealing with, they have to drive south on Washington into Newport Richey. They then have to take a left onto Orange Grove and go into the county, and then they take another left, which brings them back into Port Richey because it's totally isolated. It's bizarre. And then adding insult to injury, the postmen tell them they're in Newport Richey, not Port Richey.
Well, when it comes to redistricting, there's supposed to be congruency. So is there any kind of
It's not redistricting.
It's their own city limits.
I know, but would it be advantageous for annexation and de-annexation to have them being congruent to each other?
That's true.
I think this is important, and I think this is an action item, and I want to ask our county administrator and the two city administrators, I want to move forward on this and clean this up. So is it going to be between the three of you, or what would be the entity that would move forward to get these cleaned up?
This has come up before, so we know that this has been out there. We've actually talked about it, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, but then I haven't heard much about it lately, so. Mr. Miles, you want to address it? Or?
Yeah, we'll meet with the two cities.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, you know, the law is pretty clear. For an enclave has to be surrounded. And a lot of what's been talking about with these fingers may not comply with the ability for government to do it at this level. So I'll be curious, but I think this is a really a legal issue. And to the ones we have, Warren Avenue is a good example by our 80-acre park, well inside the boundaries of the city, never annexed in because annexation occurred to get the utilities, and this was an old neighborhood. The law changed to allow a bigger area than it used to be, 10 acres or 50, and now it's 100 acres. You know, it's gotten better, but it still requires the county to do it. So when you say you will do it, you'll get a public hearing, and those folks will be coming into your county commission chambers clamoring about our 8 mills that they have been able to avoid. And so we're happy to do it, but they won't be. So it really is, I think it's going to be an issue for you to carry the water for us. I don't know what we can do. I'm not a lawyer.
Some of this goes way back to when, at one time, you could annex in the city, but you wouldn't necessarily have to be connected. So it got disconnected, and then they annex another piece, and then you end up with these small areas like that. I think that's what happened in our history, past history, which I don't think happens now. Most people, if you annex, you've got to touch the city. So if you're going to annex a portion, you're actually already touching the city.
But donut holes or
Enclaves.
Yeah.
those are dangerous.
Yeah.
For people.
Okay.
Well, I think it's going to be wise to listen to Councilman Altman on this issue because it is going to be a heavy lift coming in as far as how we deal it. So it'll be one by one. And those people, they're going to have their taxes jump up 40, 50%. They're not going to be too happy about it, so 3 times. So
Their water bill may go down, though, as their taxes go up.
that may happen. So again, it'd be something to look at completely.
Okay.
One thing I'd like to bring as far as looking at annex and de-annexation, I think has been an issue, and I want to give Port Richey credit for actually taking out the Millionaires Row in the blighted section of the CRA. I think the city has done a few already, so I think we need to be vigilant on keeping that rolling as well.
We would have to make it cost productive for everyone because purchasing homes, and you have younger people purchasing homes nowadays, and if you can purchase in one area or another area because the taxes are 3 times the amount, it is very cost prohibitive for some people to live within city limits. So that is going to have to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, this has been a good meeting. I appreciate everyone coming. Mr. Biles said, and if y'all make your contacts, get with him and staff, that'd be good to look after these annexations and see what we can do to clear them up. It'd be a great thing, and I'll actually ask my cities on the east side to also connect. So it's one of those good things that need to be done. But I thank everyone for coming. I appreciate all your input. I would appreciate next time we have one of these that your board members come, and we'd like to just meet them and be able to converse and work together to do the right thing for your city.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, with that, we're adjourned.
I give this